Hello, I am Melissa Linville, and I am from the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, and I'm here with Megan Sullivan, and we are presenting on how to access and keep your stimulus payments right now. So I will hand it over to Megan and to talk about the logistics of the stimulus payments, and then I will talk a little bit about how to protect them from scammers and creditors.
Okay, hi, I'm Megan Sullivan, and I'm the Low Income Taxpayer Clinic Director at the Legal Aid Society of Columbus, and we provide representation to low income taxpayers who are having problems with the IRS. And right now, we're providing a lot of advice and assistance around the stimulus payments. If you can forward the slide. So I'm going to be talking about how to access the economic impact payment, or the stimulus payment as you may know it, the logistics of receiving the stimulus payments, and Melissa will be talking about how to protect your stimulus from creditors and common stimulus scams. And also we'll talk about general information about how legal aid can help. So first, as an introduction to the stimulus payments, the Congress passed through the CARES Act a stimulus payment to go to most adults in the U.S. It'll be a $1,200 payment for an individual and $2,400 for a joint married filing joint couple. There's an additional $500 credit for eligible dependents. To be eligible for the stimulus payment, you have to be a U.S. resident, have a work eligible Social Security number, have an adjusted gross income that's within limits. After $75,000, it starts to go down for an individual, and you have to not be eligible to be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return. The payments started to be distributed on April 13th to people who filed taxes in 2018 or 19. People who are on Social Security, disability, or SSI are going to be getting automatic payments, as well as VA benefits. They're going to be getting automatic payments. However, if you didn't file a 2018 or 19 return, if you're not getting Social Security, SSDI, SSI, or VA benefits, you're going to need to fill out an IRS form, which would be the non-filer payment. If you did file a 2018 or 19 return and you had your refund directly deposited, you don't have to do anything. Your stimulus payment will be directly deposited into the bank account where you had your refund deposited. However, if you had a payment due, received your refund by check, you can either wait for the IRS to send you a paper check, or you can go to the irs.gov website to register at a site to enter your bank account information so that it can be directly deposited. If you had already entered a bank account information and you want to change that information on your to have it deposited, that is actually not possible. What will happen is if the IRS sends that payment to a closed account, it will be sent back to the IRS, and then they will send you a paper check.
Megan, do you have any idea of how long that process might take?
The process of entering your payment information, that takes about 15 minutes. About when the IRS will be issuing the checks or the automatic deposits, it's going to be coming out on a rolling basis. And so right now, most people who already filed their 2019 or 18 return and had that deposit information already on file with the IRS, those deposits have already started being made, and they'll be made over the next month or two. For people who had Social Security, disability, those checks are going out this week or next week. For people who have SSI or VA benefits, it'll be a couple of weeks before they go out. And so that's actually a really important point. I'm not sure if we have a slide on this, but if you are receiving SSI or VA benefits, and you need to add a dependent onto your return because you're not normally a filer and you've got a minor child in the house, actually a child in the house who's under the age of 17, you need to file through the non-filer application on the irs.gov website in order to get that extra $500 per dependent issued to you with your deposit that's coming up. That date has already passed for people who are on Social Security, retirement, or SSDI. And so people who are on SSI or VA need to go to that app right away if they can, so that they can get their dependent payment this year. If you aren't able to do it by that date, don't worry, you still get that payment. However, you have to wait until it's time to file your 2020 return in the spring of 2021 to get that payment. And there will be lots of education around that time about how to file those returns. If you didn't file a tax return and you did have a filing requirement, though, you should file your return as soon as possible. Go to the irs.gov website and follow their link for free tax filing. Don't look it up on Google, or else you may get a service that ends up trying to charge you at the end. Go to the irs.gov website, file their free filing links to file your 2019 return. If you don't have internet access or you can't file your return for some reason, if you have a relationship with an existing social service agency, you might want to reach out to them because they may be helping people with the stimulus payments. Or if you don't, reach out to the Legal Aid Society of Columbus to see if we're able to help.
Okay. And the next section we have is on protecting your check from creditors. Because I know a number of people have asked these questions. They have debts out there to some entity, and they are worried about their stimulus checks being offset or taken or garnished because of these debts. So we wanted to provide a bit more information on what to expect if you owe money to somebody. First of all, the federal government and the state government have come out to say that they will not be taking people's stimulus checks for debts owed to the federal or state government. So as an example of this would be student loans, or if you owe money to the IRS, or perhaps a benefits overpayment, the federal government will not be offsetting this. The purpose of these stimulus checks is to go to people to help them in these times of immense need of, and to help pay for daily living expenses. State debts, such as hospital debt or state school debts, will also not be offsetting your stimulus checks. The one thing that we can affirmatively say will likely be offsetting the checks is child support. And one issue might be, say you are expecting a joint, you and your spouse have a joint filing and you should be getting the 2,400. One issue might be is if your spouse owes child support to somebody else, that whole check may be at risk. And if that should happen, we could possibly, someone could possibly help with that. Is that right, Megan?
It is right. There's a form that you can file, an injured spouse form, that will protect the person who doesn't owe the child support. It will protect their portion of the stimulus payment. And that form, even if you filed one with your 2018 or 19 return, isn't going to apply to the stimulus payment. You're going to have to file that after the fact.
So that is important information. And it's important to keep in mind if you have a joint bank account with somebody else, what creditors they might have as well. So the next thing we might see is if you owe the bank that your stimulus check is being direct deposited into, the bank might offset some of the check to repay that. So that issue is if you have overdraft fees and say your bank account is in the negative, when they dump that $1,200 into it, the bank may use part of it to offset what you owe. And it's a little bit unclear whether banks are definitively going to be doing this or not. A number of the largest banks have come out and said that they will not. And so, I'm not sure what to expect necessarily or what to definitively say. But if you do owe your bank, it is worth keeping this in mind and being aware of it. What you can do is you can be very careful to monitor your accounts, check every day to see if the stimulus payment has been deposited. And if you do have creditors, you may want to withdraw the stimulus in cash or transfer funds onto a prepaid debit card so that you can use it to pay your living expenses. And if you do owe your bank a considerable amount of money, and you think you are at extreme risk of the bank offsetting your bank account, you may want to just receive the stimulus. You may want to instead request the paper check and not affirmatively give the IRS your direct deposit information. Now that
However, if they do, I'm sorry to interrupt. If they do already have your direct deposit information, you won't be able to actually take that off.
Mhm. Yeah, so you can't undo it if it's already there.
Yeah.
Um, but if you haven't filed your taxes and you needed to go in and give the IRS your bank account information, you may want to think about it if you owe your bank a considerable amount of money. So, legal aid is available to help you analyze this kind of thing. And again, many of the largest banks have come out and said they will not be doing this. So it's just they do technically by law have the right to do it with the way the stimulus payments and CARES Act was drafted. So the other worry is that a private debt collector might be able to take your stimulus payment. And that is something that we hope will not happen. If it does happen, please call legal aid because we'd like to help you try and get it back. But basically, a private creditor has the right to attach your bank account if they have a judgment against you. So debt collectors say all kinds of things on the phone and make all kinds of threats about what they can take and what money they can take, but they cannot actually take any money until they sue you in court and get a judgment against you. The problem is a lot of people have judgments against them and they don't even know they exist. So if you think you could have some debts out there, I definitely recommend looking yourself up on the public records websites to see if there are any judgments or lawsuits. Right now, currently, there is a hold on new garnishments of bank accounts. So if you got your stimulus check right now, a creditor would likely not be able to garnish your bank account and take it. But our worry is that the hold on garnishments may end before you get your stimulus check, and creditors may be very aggressive in this. So, one thing to think about is, do you have any judgments against you? Has your bank account ever been garnished before, or your wages? And if so, you're going to want to take some extra steps to try and protect your stimulus as much as possible by possibly quickly removing it from the bank account, or that kind of thing, especially if it's been hit before. But right now, if you're getting your stimulus, you should not be worried about them attaching the bank account. But if you're in Franklin County, but if you're in a different county, they may not have the same stays in place, and also the stay just may not last until you get your payment. We don't have a way to predict that, but legal aid would like to help you if your stimulus is garnished or offset. Some scam warnings. When people are getting money, there are a lot of scammers out there as well. And so Megan had mentioned earlier, just be very careful that you're using these correct government websites. We think there'll possibly be websites up that are scam websites that try to get people to give their identifying information. But the real IRS will not be calling, emailing, or writing you for your bank account information. They will either have it already or it will be up to you to affirmatively enter the information on the form that Megan had provided earlier. So we understand, do not give your information out over the phone, any of it, as a warning, because I do think there will be a lot of people calling. Scammers may ask you to turn a check over to them. They may send you bogus checks in the mail and want you to cash them. That happens sometimes. They want you to cash them, and then once you cash them, the bank finds after the fact that it isn't a real check, and then the bank comes after you personally for the money. Scammers may also suggest that they can get a check faster for you. And so it may not, and it's not necessarily scammers, but some tax preparers or people will just offer to help you with this for a large fee or any fee at all. And we just really urge you not to pay anybody for this kind of assistance. Would you
Absolutely.
add anything to that, Megan?
I wouldn't, except remember that there are probably free services out there to help you access your check if you're not able to do it yourself because you don't have internet access or an email. Legal aid is one of those people, but there are a lot of community organizations that are trying to help people access their money.
Yeah, so just don't, they may not necessarily be scammers per se, but just for-profit entities that want to make money off of this process. So, just don't, if you need help with this, do not pay anyone is our bottom line. Um, so the last slide we have just has some basic information about legal aid services. We have been working hard to update our COVID-19 information page and keep up-to-date information on courts issues and unemployment compensation processes, and everything like that. And legal aid is very much open for business right now. We are currently not taking walk-in clients, but we encourage you to apply for assistance on our website or by calling our intake line, and reaching out on those issues. So we are trying to help as many people in this crisis as possible, and we hope that this information was helpful.
All right. Thanks, everybody.